Looks like I stole it. Don't be doing that now.
There's a lot of people in the room. I had to get everybody's attention.
They're not paying much attention to you yet, Mayor Bridge.
I know.
Might need to bang it harder, but let me know first.
Okay, I will.
Lord,
Right.
one of these days.
Nothing.
Oh, no, we wouldn't want to hide my face. Goodness gracious.
Welcome, everybody. If we get everybody settled down here and
Settle down. Look at me.
I know.
I'm sitting here quietly.
Okay. We're a little late, but I think everybody's here that's going to be here, so we'll get started. We're still in our council mode, so.
Committee of the whole, actually.
Committee of the whole. Sorry. Thank you, Judy. Yeah, Committee of the whole.
Sorry.
Public meeting to be held at 5 o'clock. So it's on the draft plan of subdivision, part lot 6 and 12 Harrison. I'll call the meeting to order and declare this a joint public meeting to consider the plan of subdivision for the Wellington County, for which Wellington County is approval authority. Chairman Bridge request members of the public present to please sign in the attendance record book, and I think everybody signed. Good. The person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the County of Wellington in respect to the proposed plan of subdivision before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval to the draft plan of subdivision. The person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the County of Wellington to the local planning appeal tribunal. That's a new one, eh? If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the County of Wellington in respect to the proposed plan of subdivision before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval to the draft plan of subdivision, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Acting Clerk Duff states the following.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The property subject to the proposed plan of subdivision, file 20-T 18003, is located on part of Park Lot 6 and 12, former town of Harrison, town of Minto. The purpose and effect of the draft plan of subdivision application will result in the creation of 10 single detached lots, a walkway to the Minto Clifford Public School, and the extension of Lawrence Avenue, creating a cul-de-sac. The lands are currently zoned to permit the single detached residential use, and there are no other associated applications. The details proposed in the draft plan of subdivision 23T 18003 are as follows. Land use single detached residential lots 1 to 10 for 10 units for 0.62 hectare, roadway of 0.18 hectare, a walkway block 11.01 hectare. Notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject lands and to applicable agencies, published in the Minto Express local newspaper, and a sign was posted on the property on March 14, 2019. The following comments were received from County of Wellington Senior Planner Curtis Marshall. The report is attached. Triton Engineering Services Limited, Chris Clark, Town of Minto Consulting Engineer. No objection, subject to the conditions and subsequent design review, and his report is attached. The Upper Grand District School Board, no objection, subject to conditions and subsequent design review. Their letter is included. Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, Patrick Huber Kidby, no objection, subject to the conditions and subsequent design review. His letter, I believe, is on your desk. Canada Post, no objection, subject to the conditions and letter attached.
Okay. I guess I'll now call on Curtis isn't here. I got Linda Redmond. Upgrade. I'm just kidding. Actually, Curtis has got a new job.
Yeah, that's right. Curtis is moving on to the south.
To the south on us. But Linda knows us well up here.
Not have any fun anymore.
No, Linda knows us well. So Linda Redmond, and you have your report. You want to go through it, Linda, for us?
I'm just going to briefly touch on a few items. If you have questions about this, then I can answer them. But essentially, this is the last piece of the puzzle for this site. We've been before you for a number of developments in this area, and it's located in the built boundary. It's an excellent reuse of an existing site to the 10 single-family lots. There's been a number of meetings that have taken place already. Most of the issues have been addressed, and there's a few technical servicing grading issues that have to be addressed, but that forms a condition of approval, of draft approval, and those details, those finer details, can be worked out after draft approval is given. So you don't often see those details worked out at this stage in the process. It's usually later, and they can be addressed. So we've received no objections, just conditions. The various comments and agencies have asked for conditions that will satisfy any of their concerns. The property is located in the floodplain, so there are some floodproofing measures that will have to occur at time of building permit. We understand, though, that that might change once the Conservation Authority has implemented their changes to the plan, but either way, if you move forward. Stormwater management has been addressed. There's an existing stormwater management pond built to the south of the site that this property will utilize. One issue that came up was that the school board wanted to ensure that a walkway was maintained to the site, to the school to the north. So that is still in place. That's shown on the plan as block 11. And also, Gord, if I can ask you to scroll. Oh,
actually, Adeline.
Oh, it's you. See?
I can.
You can scroll down to page 6 of Curtis's report. There's a red outline, red showing. Yeah. So that's the walk. That's how the walkway will proceed. Originally, it was going to cut through down to the stormwater management pond. You can see that block there. But the school board preferred that the walkway not go around the stormwater management pond. They had some concerns for safety. So it will now continue down through in between lots 5 and 6, which there will be a block there now that the township will assume, and the walkway will continue there. So the school board was happy with that change, and the draft plan will have to be amended to reflect that. Otherwise, we are satisfied with the proposal, and we have conditions that can address any issues. I'm just here to get any feedback.
You want questions now, or do you want to wait?
It's up to you. I don't know if you want to hear from the applicant.
Yeah, we can maybe hear from the applicant first, and then applicant Jeff, did you want to?
Is there any questions you guys had towards it, or the drawings are updated and
Yep. No,
I'm well for you.
I'm good with any questions. Anybody else?
I have a question, but I don't know who it should be asked of. So I'll throw it out, see what happens. The pathway to the school, will there be a safe place for the kids to walk during construction, or what? I mean, this is great the way it is, but this is kind of after construction. So I'm just wondering during construction if there's a safe way maintained for the kids to get to school.
During construction, we're going to have to open up the back part of the fence, or do what we did originally along the north side of it. We're going to move the walkway up there out of the way. There's a block there where this water, there's going to be like a little swale in there to control the water. It's like an easement you guys put in there. So we could redirect it that way. That just has to be discussed with the school board. Last time they didn't let us open the fence, so we had to put the walkway elsewhere. So,
Terry, did you have anything on that? Just because I know it's always been an issue with the school board as to what they would let us do when we do construction.
So we have had we have had discussion with the school board about what's going to happen during construction, and due to the safety aspect for the kids and all the heavy equipment there, they're okay if we shut that entrance as needed during construction, and the kids will have to go up Arthur Street for the short term. Build out plans for the bulb and to get the grading right. It's actually pretty quick and easy development. So the anticipation or the hope would be to do that road construction during the summer. So it would have little impact. Triton, our engineer, we spoke to him, being that we're looking at the Lawrence Street reconstruction, and his anticipation of the whole thing was about a 2-month window, start to finish. So there
Oh,
may not be any impact at all, but if there is, the school board is aware of it already.
Okay. Terry, on that, just a question. So, and maybe Jeff, you can answer this. Were you thinking of doing that this year, the road construction? I can't remember if it was in our budget to.
I don't believe we have it in the budget for this year.
No.
By the time this
It's
development, so we're almost at draft stage now.
Yeah.
The final engineering needs to be done. So realistically, time frame to get a shovel in the ground, early fall.
Yeah. Okay.
Would
I
be-
thought we
be
were.
about it.
Well, I know we have it in the 2020 budget
Yeah.
to do Lawrence Street. When we're doing this, we're going to do the whole Lawrence Street, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I have no other questions. Amy?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Bridge. So Jeff, is it your plan and to develop it, build the houses, sell them, or are you selling the lots?
If we can move forward, we're going to try to do it all. If not, there has been quite a bit of interest, and we might just sell the parcel off like we did Quality Homes. Depends on the terms. We just have to get it approved, and then we can finish negotiations on it.
So will there be any rules and regulations on the type of house? Because I mean, there's 10 lots.
Yeah, it'll be the same as when we did George Street. The lawyer writes up the conditions, the percentage of brick, requirements of square footage, all that gets drawn up on our end.
Then did you have somebody on to add there? Good. Okay. Yep.
Other questions?
I don't have any. Just hang around though. We've got more people in the room. Yep. Okay. So, anybody more that wants to comment in favor of the proposed draft subdivision? Anyone wish to comment in opposition of the draft subdivision? Any person wanting to provide additional information? And you guys have asked all your questions you want of Linda and everybody?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. And I'll state, if you wish to be notified of a decision of the County of Wellington in respect to the proposed draft plan of subdivision application, you must make a written request to the County of Wellington Planning and Development Department, 74 Woolwich Street, Guelph, Ontario, N1H3T9, 519-837, 2600, extension 2080. I believe I just declare it closed. Better, Dean?
much better.
Okay, thank you. All right, next one up is ZBA 2019-04 housekeeping. All the public meeting to consider the amendment of the Town of Minto zoning bylaw number 0186 affecting all lands in the Town of Minto. I'll act as chair of the public meeting, and I'll call the meeting to order and request any member of the public present to please sign the attendance record. And I'll state the following. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions to the public meeting or make written submissions to the Town of Minto before bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Town of Minto to the local planning appeal tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. I'll ask the acting clerk Duff to state the municipal address, the legal description of the property, and the purpose and effect of the application, date, notice for sent. Not really property, but
There. Well, thank you, Mayor Bridge. This amendment affects all the property, so the property subject to the proposed amendment affects all of the lands in the town of Minto. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to provide for town-initiated housekeeping amendments to the comprehensive zoning bylaw. Notices were mailed to the applicable agencies and were published in the Minto Express local newspaper on March the 14th, 2019. Following comments were received from Linda Redmond, Manager of Planning and Environment, County of Wellington. The report is attached here.
and I'll call Linda to provide comments regarding the proposed amendment to the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 0186. Go ahead, Linda. Thank you.
So your agenda packages should have a 2-page report, but also a chart. So I'd like to go through the chart. I'm just going to go through and highlight the bigger changes, and then and I'm going to skip over the small ones, and then if you have questions, if that's okay with everybody.
Is that everybody? Okay.
So the report highlights kind of a couple of the major changes that I think are important to point out because of the impact. So one of the changes with the housekeeping is the size of the accessory structure for primarily lands that are located in the rural areas. So the agricultural lots, small lots, as well as those that are zoned R1A, which is your unserviced. That's where you'll see this mostly applied. So currently your accessory structures are allowed to be 1,000 square feet, and then increments of 100 square feet for every additional acre. So we are proposing to increase that they can start at 2,000 square feet, so they can double in size, and then with increments of 450 square feet for every acre. So it's a significant jump, but the reason this came about is because we're finding in all the surrounding municipalities, including yours, that we get a lot of minor variance applications for accessory structures on these parcels. They want bigger buildings, and the variances are being approved.
Mhm.
So why continue to require this process when let's just allow it? It's working. We have it in place elsewhere currently, and it's not a problem. So I know your CBO was pretty happy about it. So that's one, and then you can see the chart there, so it gives you an idea. There is a cap of 5,000 square feet, no matter how big the lot. The other change that's a little bit significant is the home industry. So currently, home industries are permitted on lots that are 1 and 2 acres in size, and so the reduced lot, egg lots. And this is contrary to our PPS policies, and so the proposal is to allow home industries as of right on parcels that are 25 acres or greater. And then if somebody wants to come in and have an home industry below that, they can always apply for a zone amendment. And that gives council a bit more control in terms of what types of uses occur and on what size of property. The other thing to bear in mind with this is that the provincial policies changed a few years ago with respect to what's allowed on farm parcels. They changed it to the term on farm diversified, which opens up a lot of different uses. So we want to be sure that there's a bit of control in place, otherwise you're going to see all kinds of things that maybe aren't appropriate in these areas. Not only has it opened up a lot of uses, which isn't a bad thing, but it's opened up the size and scale of these uses that are allowed. So that's another reason to want to have a little bit of control over where they go and what happens. So we're not saying it's not allowed, we're just saying if it's under a certain acreage, there should be a little bit of a discussion that occurs, and that's how it's been addressed by putting it in the lot size. The on-farm just to give you an example, on-farm diversified uses can take up an area of 4 hectares, I believe it is. So buildings, parking, loading, anything that's associated with this business can occupy an area of up to 4 hectares on the lot. So they can be quite significant in size. So we are also we would like to at some point in time also look at your home industry provisions as a whole and bring them a bit up to closer to what the policies allow, which is a bit more broader than what you have actually. So hopefully we can do that sooner rather than later. The other changes will address intensification. You're starting to see a lot more subdivisions coming forward and infill developments. So we've introduced a smaller lot size, a 40-foot frontage lot. So you still have all your regular lot sizes, but now the R2 also, what we did is we bumped everything down by 10 feet. So your R1C is a 40-foot lot. Your R1B is a 50-foot lot. That used to be a 60-foot lot. And then in R2, it's 40 feet. So you can still have the 50-foot lot frontages, but now we've just introduced a smaller one so that it's there when these new subdivisions come in, and then your density requirements are better met. Along with that, we've reduced the setback requirements in between cluster developments because right now they're quite significant. You need a lot of area in between and it didn't make any sense, so we've reduced that, which means you can get more dwelling units on a lot. We're also proposing to allow a converted dwelling in a residential in a rural residential area. So that's the first step in allowing the conversion of residential homes to allow a second unit. We've also introduced some parking requirements that will also help to encourage the or accommodate the second units. And again, that's another project we're working on, which is the second unit, allowing second units within residential. So we're still weeding through that, but this is going to help facilitate that. So tandem parking would allow people to have one car in front of the other, and that would count as required parking. So when you have these basement apartments, if you can demonstrate you have parking one after the other, that will qualify. So those are kind of the big ones. Another thing we've done is introduce barrier-free parking. We've made it, brought it up to current standards as well. And we've introduced a standard in terms of how you can provide your barrier-free parking. So there's a few different options, so you don't have to have all these handicap place spots in a row. There's ways to provide them so they share spaces, and there's just different. It just gives a little bit more flexibility when we're doing the calculations for commercial uses. We have introduced a section that allows model homes without having subdivision in place yet, so that can move forward. We've also introduced zoning for surplus farm dwellings, so that we've now taken all the surplus farm dwelling severances. They all have the same zoning on the property now, which is helpful as staff when you're looking at a site-specific exemption on a property and you know when you see A5, okay, that's a surplus farm dwelling. It's just cleaning it up and bringing it all together. We've eliminated a number of site-specific exemptions by introducing the increased building accessory structure. It allowed us to eliminate a number of zonings on properties that needed relief, because if you remember in the past with the surplus farm dwellings, when there's an accessory building with the house, we've had to get relief for the size of the accessory structure. Well, with this new accessory structure introduction, we probably won't need those exemptions anymore, so that's going to help that. I think those are the big ones. Yeah, I think we're good. If you have any questions.
Just on the accessory buildings that are severed off of farmland. So if it was a barn, they would still have to come for a change of use? Or is there a way to clean that up as well?
So the barn component, so that would then, it would fall under a hobby barn. And you'd either still need, if you exceed the hobby barn criteria, because hobby barn is separate from accessory building. You're allowed this size of an accessory structure, and you're allowed a certain size hobby barn.
Oh, okay.
So if you exceed that, the hobby barn size, that is still the same. That's remaining the same. And that, I mean, we can certainly look at increasing the hobby barn size, but that ties into, you know, the animal count and whether if that lot can.
I guess what I was picturing though is if you have a 1 acre lot, for instance, and the barn is still the farm barn is still part of that 1 acre, a lot of the time we need to get a change of use for that building, or it has to come down.
Correct.
Right. So just wondering if there's a way that we could wrap in the change of use somehow, so that, because that takes public meeting on its own, does it not?
Nope.
Oh,
not
okay.
the change of use.
Oh, okay.
That's just a building code.
Oh, okay. So it's fairly clean anyways then.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Terry coming here.
So yeah, just to clarify where I think you're coming from. So the accessory building provisions would still apply for that small acreage. So we would take into account what the additional square footage we would be allowed in the existing barn. So if it's a small barn, yeah, it may fall under the accessory structure square footage. They would still need the change of use building code wise, but it just may not have to come back for relief on that
Okay.
residential portion.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Mark.
My question is on backing up to the home industry.
Mhm.
So an individual gets a property zoned to have a home industry. 10 years down the road, property, if he sells it, it's still zoned to have a home industry. The type that, there's a bylaw that lists the allowable ones. So that would still have to be approved by the CBO or council if the use changed, even though it was zoned for a home industry.
So home industry, there are, under the general provisions, home industries are allowed as of right. You don't need a zone amendment. And then there's certain criteria that falls into place. So certain uses are allowed under the home industry, certain size building, that kind of thing. That's already allowed. You do not need a zone amendment. You don't need a site-specific exemption or anything. If they do come in for a site-specific exemption and it's listed and it's specific, that's above and beyond what the provisions allow. And that zoning stays on that property forever. If they want to change any of that, they do need an amendment. But that happens now anyway.
So a new owner would not have to come back.
No, because
Get
the zoning
approval.
stays with the property.
Yes. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
It might be a value if some cases.
Oh,
yeah.
it would be, but the use may change too.
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And then they have to, yeah, if it's very specific in the site specific of what can go in that building, then yeah, they can come back and ask for a change of that through a zone amendment.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. So, Linda, a lot of this stuff is voice of the customer, right? It's driven by the contractors that want to do a model home and the 40-foot lots and all this other stuff. And when you compare that to Minto, Mapleton, North Wellington, are we going through the same process there? So is all these things already initiated down in, say, Puslinch, Erin, or is this a county thing?
I don't know about the South, because I don't deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
These are, I just went through a housekeeping with Wellington North last year, and
Mm-hmm.
pretty much everything that we've implemented here, we implemented there, or that we're proposing here. So in the northern area, yes, their bylaws are some of their bylaws are a little different down there. They have different needs and different, they don't have, like, Puslinch doesn't have any urban centers, so they don't have the same type of development.
So yeah, when you look at it, I mean, I think there's some great ideas here, especially, the one. So, for example, our folks in Palmerston, when they're putting up their big development there, their model homes. How do you show somebody something if?
Yeah.
And it's likely a no-brainer, but nobody's really ever thought of it before.
Well, we haven't had to deal with it.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, good. I think it's all good.
Terry,
Thank
do you
you.
have something?
Sorry, just to add to what Linda said, so it's kind of a split between both contractor-driven and provincial-driven.
Mhm.
So the model homes, that's purely contractor-driven. The accessory structure, that's coming from the homeowners. The reduction in a lot of the frontage and lot areas, that's provincially driven
Mhm.
with the minimum density per acre. So if they have to fit that many houses in, if they want to do this plan of subdivision. So if we don't recognize it in our general zones, every single subdivision, majority of the severances would all have to come back for rezoning. So it's to address what is being fed down that pipe as well.
Wait, Linda, if you want to
Well,
speak to that.
just to piggyback off that, the density requirement is there. How it's obtained is,
Subdivision.
if you only offer a 50-foot lot as your smallest lot, you're not going to meet the density requirements. So the only way to meet it is you're going to have to throw up apartments and townhouses and more of those. So this way we can get more single families in a development too. So there's a better mix.
This should encourage infill lots to, not necessarily a development. So if somebody's got a big lot Instead of a 50-foot, now they can go to a 40-foot. Now they can sever without minor variants and such like. And so that you can encourage, because I think that's one of the problems we have is getting people in the urban areas. We haven't got room for them. So I think that's a twofold thing that we have here.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think what we've all been talking about, and we've heard a lot from our citizens on this, is attainable housing. And we have to, it's nice to have a big lot and everything, but the builder still has to make a profit. And so to get people to get to a price point that we can help some people to get into the attainable housing, good example on infill lots, if you get a couple and we're looking at different things. I know we've all got task force going to try to figure out how we're going. So I see most of these changes allow us to help to get into that.
It's getting closer.
Getting
I think
closer.
We still have more to go.
Yeah.
I mean, 40-foot lots are still considered big.
Yeah, and I think that's education on our part too, because the problem we run into is we all want to have our siblings and everything able to get to our children to get a building. At the same token, we have to look at ourselves and say, but in my area or whatever. So we all have to kind of come to grips with that, and we have to come up with what's the best approach. And part of the provincial drive was to, which I didn't agree with, was they were actually telling you where you had to live. I think this government's going to start to say you can live out in the other areas, but we have to do it on a reasonable basis. Yeah. So I think we have to take charge of that ourselves. And then I think the county will be looking at that. And I know we'll be looking at it at our level too, that we have to have spots where people can actually put up smaller units if they have to get the price down to where they can afford to have it. And that's part of it. That's part of our social makeup is what we have to do. So I think these are good tidy up things. And I like the fact that we may not have to go out. It's quite a few times we've had to go and do the whole process to get somebody a little bigger building out there in one of our lots. And we've got to go through that a lot. And I think, you're out in the country, you should have a little bigger unit. You can be able to put it. So I think those are good tidy ups. Anybody else? Anything? Now do I go out to everybody in the audience as well here on this one?
Anyone would like to?
Yeah, is anybody, I'm just going to say, is anybody want to comment or ask Lynn any questions? Okay. Yep, Jeff?
That it's in the official.
Hey, I don't hear any more. So where I am is right near the end here. I see.
Is that everything?
Yep. I will state that if you wish to be notified of the decision of Council of the Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the Deputy Clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, NOG 1ZO, or email at annaline@townofminto.on.ca. I declare that one closed. Thanks, Linda, for your efforts on that. I think we're next. Yep. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Elliott. The Committee of the Whole convenes the regular council meeting. All in favor? Approved. Where's my pen?
This guy's down here didn't vote.
They didn't vote? You approving this? Okay.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor's on you.
Pay attention.
This one's a little closer. In case you can...
Moved by Councillor Guston, second by Councillor McKenzie. You better listen up on this one. This
I
is
will.
yours. The Council of the Town of Minto ratifies motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? I saw it that time. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor Anderson, the bylaw number 2019-32 to adopt the estimates of the sums required during 2019 for purposes of the municipality be introduced, read first, second, and third time. Passed an open council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gunston. Bylaw number 2019-33 to amend the zoning bylaw number 0186 for the town of Minto be introduced, read first, second, and third time. Passed an open council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the bylaw number 2019-34 to execute a public facilities limited use agreement with the Grey Wellington Theatre Board be introduced, read first, second, and third time. Passed an open council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Yep. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Deputy Mayor Turton. The bylaw number 2019-35 to execute the public facilities limited use agreement with the Minto Dance Academy be introduced for read first, second, and third time. Passed open to council. Seal the corporation. All in favor. Moved by Councillor Gutson, second by Councillor McKenzie. Bylaw number 2019-36 to erect a temporary stop signs in the Lower Street, Mill Street, East, Park Street, West intersection of Clifford during reconstruction of Highway 9 be introduced, read first, second, and third time. Passed open to council. Seal the corporation. All in favor. Moved by Councillor Dixon, second by Councillor Anderson. Bylaw number 2019-31 to confirm the actions of the Council of the Corporation of Minto respecting the meeting held April 2nd, 2019 be reduced, read first, second, and third time. Passed open to council. Seal the corporation. All in favor. And I now move by, we need Councillor Dixon, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, that we adjourn to the call again of the mayor.
Favorite motion.